Show.
What is up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again. Welcome. Man, we got a packed ass show ready for you guys and gals today. We're going to recap the Lions game. We're going to kind of like the thumbnail kind of teased a little bit. Should Tom Brady be afraid of his GOAT status, as well as give you our annual Super Bowl preview and our official picks, 2Ks. But before we jump off here, last week was kind of, I wanted to hold off on this until you were a part of this 2Ks, but this is episode 201.
Yeah.
Who in the hell would have ever thought that people would listen to the shit that we talk about, let alone do it for over 200 episodes? And what's really kind of cool is that if you look at how many podcasts there are worldwide, and the average podcast is done before the 10th episode.
Sure.
So we've dropped dick all over that. All over that. And you know what, 2K crew? It's all about you guys and gals. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And 2Ks, here's to a million more.
Yeah.
We're just scratching the surface here, man. We're just scratching the surface. And yes, it is so much better, so much cooler with you guys and gals in the 2K crew helping us out, not only with the watching on Facebook, in the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/2K crew. But the best way to watch is over on YouTube. So thank you to all of our YouTube viewers and listeners, and wherever you're at, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications when we go live. And our Twitter folks, 2Ks. We're live on Twitter. I'm not sure how many other shows are live on Twitter. Didn't even know you could do it until I was messing around with the software about a couple months ago. And it's like, oh, do you want to go live on Twitter? Yeah. Yeah, sure do. Why not? And I sent you kind of a teaser, 2Ks. I found a software that chops up our episode and does the whole thing and been posting it all over. So thank you guys and gals over on TikTok. And for those of you that aren't following our TikTok, go ahead and give us a follow over there so we can get to 1,000 followers so we can go live over there as well. Yes, we are trying to take over the sports world, 2K crew, and with your help, we might be able to do it. And before we jump into just one last little bit of business here, 2Ks, we got to announce some fantasy football winners.
Yeah.
We got to announce some fantasy football winners. This is the fourth year?
Mm-hmm.
Fourth year we've done this. So it's fourth annual Turbo and 2Ks Fantasy Football Challenge. And our one and very own, Mr. Kyle 2Ks Kaler, came in fourth.
Yeah. One seed all season long.
It's usually the way it goes.
And which honestly was pretty impressive to finish as the one seed. I know it doesn't matter when you lose in the first round of the playoffs, but my first round pick was Nick Chubb, and he went down right at the beginning of the season. So to be able to piece that all together, it was a good regular season, but unfortunately playoffs come around and my teams do what they do best, and that's fucking blow it.
Then we had our buddy Matt from Dewajak coming in third, and Jack Eggleston, the reigning, defending, two-time Turbo and 2Ks champion, falls to Carl Gearhart. We have a new champion in our midst, ladies and gentlemen, and I have a feeling if he lived closer, we would hear about it a lot more frequently. So thank goodness he's up in Kalamazoo. We won't have to hear about it quite as often. But if you do see Carl, give him big congratulations. And Carl, just so you know, bud, targets on your back. Yeah, targets on your back. We're all coming for you next year.
His strategy of drafting all Lions finally paid off.
That's true.
The Lions offense, being one of the best in the league this year, it finally paid off to draft that way.
Yeah. So. We're not going to get into it really, really deep, but I've been talking with 2Ks since the season ended, and there will be some scoring changes as well as some roster changes. So everyone kind of get locked in with that. I can't wait for it. We're going to have a whole lot of fun with this because it's a format that we're kind of integrating your scoring system, but with a different roster. Mm-hmm. So I'm really kind of excited to see where this goes. And I have a feeling it's going to be a lot more exciting for everyone playing as well. So keep that in mind, 2K crew. And with that, let's jump into some news. We need to give a moment of silence. Mr. Carl Weathers passed away the other day. Him and Rocky, and Chubbs on Happy Gilmore. So, moment of silence. Moment taken. You will be forever missed, my friend. And what a classy response and tweet by Adam Sandler. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, 2Ks, but it was pretty awesome. And just to see the internet kind of just remember how awesome of a person he was, as well as I didn't know he was in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Which the way he's built, I mean, you can kind of see it, but. Man, you talk about an interesting dude and a talent that will be missed. That's kind of all the news I had. I mean, we've got some baseball news, but I kind of want to wait a little bit to kind of break that, or not break that, but visit that. But I guess one other little bit of news, 2Ks, is that Bill Belichick took out an ad in the New England paper thanking all the fans. I thought that was really, really cool. Mm-hmm. Still doesn't have a job though.
Yeah, that's honestly is shocking to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think it's probably he's asking for too much as far as the control. Teams are just not willing to give up all the control that he wants. With the timeline probably not being long term, I have to imagine he probably only has a couple more years left in him. But then again, it is Bill Belichick that we're talking about, so in his eyes, he could maybe have another 7-8 years left in the tank.
And that was one of the things that I kind of broke down last week was, he was interviewed many times in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And if he would have landed that Falcons job, it would have led me to believe that he's in it for more than 1 or 2 or 3 years. Because with the Falcons, you have to get a quarterback.
Sure.
And it's going to, I mean, granted, they could go the route like a Kirk Cousins style quarterback, or with this draft, it's there's a plethora of quarterbacks, and if you paid attention to the Senior Bowl, you saw Bo Nix just ball out, and there's more than a handful of I think NFL caliber quarterbacks in this draft. So if he would have ended up there, that would have kind of led me to believe he's going to be in it for 5, 6, 7 years. Otherwise, why would you go to that young of a team to kind of, I don't know, give up the reins after after 2 years of developing this quarterback into your system? To me, that seemed kind of silly. But overall, him not having a job, I think is going to be dangerous for the rest of the league. He's taking a year off, and I think it's going to be better for him because A, he is getting up there in age, and B, you'd have to think that he's just going to sit back and study and be like, all right, what the last 3 years in New England, what was it that kind of was our demise is kind of a strong word, but what was our downfall?
Yeah.
What could we have done different? And I think that's going to be huge. And on top of that, what's to say that one of these teams mid-season? I know that's kind of an outlandish thing to happen, but I mean, hell, we saw it with Jeff Saturday.
Sure.
I'd much rather have Bill Belichick over Jeff Saturday any day, but then again, we saw how that ended. But Bill Belichick is not out of the league. He's not out of the league. The one person that didn't get hired, I was shocked at was Vrabes.
Yeah, that one shocks me too. And it shocked me that he lost his job in the first place, but then to go through this offseason and just if you thinking about some of the names out there that
Pete Carroll,
Vrabel, Belichick, there's some big time names to where some of these head coaches now rolling into next season. You have to imagine the pressure's on. It's
100%.
It's a win now, because if we have another mediocre or bad season, chances of us being replaced is very, very likely.
Yes. It's one of those. If Bill Belichick can be replaced, then so can any one of the coaches coaching in the NFL. But yeah, I was more shocked Vrabes didn't get a job. Just the fact that you mentioned Belichick, he's used to doing everything. Be the GM, it's kind of like the whole Bill Parcells adage. You want me to cook dinner, but won't let me shop for groceries. Belichick's been doing that for years, years. So that would be more of a a whole franchise system overload or reload, I guess you could say, rather than just your standard coaching hires. So, yeah, it's it's going to be interesting to see which team next season, because he can pretty much take the pick of the litter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like 13 or 15 wins shy of the record. One would think that in 2 years that would be he would surpass that, and who knows what happens from then on out. But yes, he will be back in the league. He's put in too much work, been too good for so long to. And I'm not trying to say that all he's doing is chasing this record, but it's got to be right up there.
Uh-huh.
Another Super Bowl, probably number one. Probably number one, because let's be honest, 2K's Brady did it without him.
Oh, for sure.
He's been shitty ever since Brady left. So to me, that would be more of a, yep, still got it.
Yep.
I'm Bill fucking Belichick. And yeah, once the win record comes, so be it. So be it. Well, 2K's, we and when I say we, me and the 2K crew, we watched the Lions game, and since you were not able to join us, I wanted to kind of, now first of all, I'll kind of give you the recap of what we went through here. Started, I mean, it was right about halftime is when the show started. Lions are up. Third quarter starts. Lions are pretty much in control of this game at this point. And we're watching along, and I'm, kind of, which, by the way, when you're doing a watch along and trying to do a show by yourself, not the easiest thing in the world to do. No. But it was really cool, because now especially we have a dedicated screen here, so we can watch, and we're watching basketball this week because there's nothing else on. But it was really cool to watch and kind of see and watch along with people. But yes, I do believe that, and we were talking about this before we went live, is that the play calling was, I'm not even going to say sketchy. I mean, it was rather out there. But I honestly think what changed that game was the Gibbs fumble. That was, and it was, the whole play was just weird. And it's a play that him and Goff have done a million times before. And what exactly happened, I'm not really sure, but it was like it was obviously a botched handoff that he never really had control of. And in my eyes, and I was like, oh shit. And after San Francisco scores after that, it's like, okay, now momentum is going away from the Lions and going to the 49ers. And whether that's pressure, other circumstances around that kind of forced Dan Campbell to go for fourth and whatever, more times than he should have. There's that take, and then there's the take that without some of those calls during the regular season, they would have never gotten to this point. And for those of you that argue that point, I get that. But this is win and go home, or lose and go home.
I mean, I hear that, and I've heard a lot of people say that, but I disagree with it, because, like, you go back to the Dallas game. That was poor coaching. I don't care what you say. As soon as that penalty was called, blame it on the officials, whatever you want to, but bad calls happen. Happens all the time, and it changes things. So now you're on the 7-yard line, 8-yard line after the penalty. You kick the fucking extra point and just go into overtime.
Yeah.
But they go for it. They end up losing that game. I think about the Thanksgiving game against Green Bay. They get off to kind of a shit start, but there's still plenty of game, and you have one of the best offenses in the NFL. Like, you can come back from being down in that game. They did it earlier in the year against the Bears, and they came back, but they run a fake punt. They don't get it on their side of the field. They give it back to Green Bay. Green Bay scores again. Basically, the game's over.
Yeah.
So there's 2 games right there that I can come up with that they lost because of that. It's not aggressive. It's stupid. It's just stupid calls. And they lost that, and that could change. That game could have been played last week in Detroit. They could have been the number 1 seed out of that if you don't give away games like that. So I don't like that argument, just because but then I look at last Sunday's fucking debacle, and like the first half couldn't have. it could not have went any better for Detroit.
Yeah.
Everything was perfect. Only thing that you can kind of come up with in the first half that was not great was the last possession where they end up having to settle for the field goal. If they would have been able to get the touchdown there. But that kind of gets into my argument that I'm going to make is, if you're going to fucking play that way in the second half and go for everything and just play stupid, why'd you kick an extra point in the first half? Or kick a field goal in the first half? Why didn't you go for it then?
Yeah.
But then you roll into the second half. San Francisco gets the ball. They drive right down the field. They look like they're going to score a touchdown. They're able to hold them to a field goal. So now it goes to a 14-point game. Detroit goes right back down the field and then kick a field goal themselves and go right and just basically match what San Fran does in the first drive of the second half, and they go for it, and they don't get it, and now all momentum has went to San Francisco. They're on the home field. The crowd's starting to feel it. You know, they've lost. They've been in this game multiple times now. Kyle Shanahan's been in the situation multiple times now. They've lost. They've learned from it. There was no panic with them. They knew that they fell behind. They knew they were going to have the possessions to come back. They know that they can rely on that defense to make some stops. Exactly. They did. And so there was no panic there. As soon as that momentum swung after that and it went back to them, I said it at the house. I'm like, you can turn this shit off because I already know where it's going to go. And the thing is, like, Detroit was kind of able to answer it a little bit. They go down. They're down by 3. They get the ball back down there in territory again. You got a 40-some yard field goal to tie it, and you fucking go for it again. You don't get it, and now it's over. And then they still have a chance. They still have a chance in the end to do something. They're down. You're down, and you drive down in there. You know that it's a 2-possession game. You got to have, it's a 10-point game at this time. I don't understand why you get down there and just kick the fucking field goal.
With all 3 timeouts.
Kick the field goal with all 3 timeouts and trust your defense.
Yeah.
If the defense can't come up with a stop, so be it. But in my opinion, you have to extend that game as long as you can. And the way that they did that, and then just to get down in there, and I think they're on the 3 or 4 yard line, and they fucking run the ball.
Yeah.
So if you don't get a touchdown in that situation, you have to use one of those timeouts to stop the clock. They don't get in. They call the timeout. Now you've wasted that timeout. Now you only have 2. Regardless, if you don't get the onside kick, which there was 54 onside kicks, and only 2 of them had been recovered on the season. So you have to have the mindset of you're not going to get the onside kick.
Yeah.
You can throw that fucking theory out the door. To me, I just thought it was you can sit back and say all you want about the Dan Campbell being aggressive and don't want to change the mindset, and I 100% agree. In certain situations, absolutely you need to be aggressive, but you can't just be fucking reckless and stupid, and that's what he was. And and then to go on a little bit more, as far as the experience of, like, look, I got nothing but good things to say about Ben Johnson and then and him as an offensive coordinator and him coming back to Detroit and not taking the Commander's job. Absolutely huge for Detroit. But I just thought that even him, in that second, you ran the ball, you destroyed.
Yep.
You have the best offensive line, arguably the best offensive line in the NFL, and you destroyed San Fran in the first half running the football. And in the second half, you just went away from it.
It's gone.
You played right into San Fran's hands, and it was like the tables were turned. They forgot that they were ahead by 17.
Yeah. And
they just tried to play this whole completely different style of a game than what they played in the first half.
It was tentative.
And yeah, exactly.
It was tentative.
And it was, and I know there's going to be people who say, well, what about if Josh Reynolds catches that pass? Fuck yeah. If he would have caught that pass on that 4th down, probably would have won the game with it. But you know what? That shit's going to happen. Just like I said earlier with the bad calls, you're going to have that shit in games. You can't do anything about it. But what you can do, and what you can't, is Dan Campbell is not making play calls on that sideline. No. He's not that style of a coach. He's basically the CEO. You stand there on the sideline. You might walk down to Ben Johnson every once in a while and say, hey, you've got 4 downs. Know that when you're calling this next play on 3rd down. But for the most part, like, you're just the CEO, and his job as a CEO last Sunday night was fucking pitiful.
And it's funny you bring up the Reynolds thing, because Julia Proshwitz says Reynolds' drops were also a downfall. Goff hit him in the numbers, and he couldn't complete the catch.
100%.
Devastating to the outcome.
Perfect throw. It has to be caught.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, those plays happen all the time. All the time.
And our buddy Corey says you can't coach on emotion. That's very true. That's very true. But there's the complete other side of that is, which if that's one of the things that really, really annoys me watching any of the, especially ESPN. ESPN analytics say, go for it. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen a time where it says ESPN analytics say punt or don't go for it? No.
Yeah.
No.
And don't get me wrong, because like I still think Dan Campbell's the perfect guy for the job.
100%.
I still love him there. I still want him there. There's nobody else I want for that job. My thing is, this shit, it's early, and then he's turned that whole program around, and everything is, I mean, that franchise is booming. Like,
yes.
It is booming right now. But if he keeps coaching in that style and it doesn't work, and especially on the biggest stage where you win that game, you go to the fucking Super Bowl. Yeah. No Detroit fan was thinking Super Bowl at the beginning of this season. No. They were thinking, hey, we can get to the playoffs and we can maybe win a game. Mm-hmm. We weren't thinking we're going to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But if you keep coaching that style, that shit's going to get real fucking old real fast, and it won't take long of being that reckless in games where people will turn on you.
Just as Brandon Staley.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of this aggressiveness, and it pretty much started with him. Mm-hmm. And we see where that got him. Mm-hmm. He's out.
Yeah, and the thing, and like coaching that way in a Week 13 game when you have a really good record and you're not really worried about, you look at that time earlier in the season, Green Bay was kind of scuffling there before they got hot there at the end. The Bears were shit pretty much all season. They dug themselves into such a hole they were never going to come back from it. Kirk Cousins gets hurt in Minnesota, and that kind of wipes their season out the door. So like, you can coach that. You can kind of coach that style in the middle of the season, and then hey, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, fuck. I mean, we're going to be fine. But you have to change you can't just coach that style against San Francisco in the NFC final. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was very, very reckless.
Well, look at I want to take a look at it from the other perspective. Is there anyone in the football universe that if Campbell kicks that field goal, that there's any one of the I don't care if you're a Lions fan, a football fan, a baseball fan, doesn't matter. He kicks that field goal. Are you at the end of the game? Are you like, why didn't you go for it? Mm-hmm. Not a single person on earth is going to say that. Well, we were watching, and ESPN Analytics said to go for it, but you kicked a field goal. Can you explain that? Yeah. No, points are points in a playoff game, let alone the NFC Championship game, and. Now, to your point, regular season, it's in my opinion, it's good to do aggressive things like that. Put them on tape so that teams in the future have to at least address that it could happen. But yeah, on the biggest stage, yeah. I was not a fan at all. I was not a fan, and it's one of those. I mean, he made his bed. He made his bed. And ultimately, Lions fans, you should not be disappointed. It's not going to be 30 years between your next playoff win.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, one thing that I think we all know is just how hard it is to win in the NFL,
yes. And
how just tight everything is. Like. Mm-hmm. There's not, there's so many teams that can win. It's any given Sunday. I mean, anybody can beat anybody in this league, and that's how the parity is just. And that's what makes it the best, sport in the world to watch. And so, like, it just everything really fell into Detroit's hands this year. The Green Bay is only going to continue to get better. Winning that division next season is not going to be automatic like it necessarily was this year. You have to believe. I mean, who knows what Kirk Cousins in that situation is going to happen there with Minnesota? Is he going to be there? Is he not going to be there? But you have to imagine they're going to be pretty good. The Bears they're getting better, and whatever they decide to do with Justin Fields, or are they going to go Caleb Williams?
They'll screw it up.
But the thing is, they're gonna be a
Yes.
better team, and Detroit had their fucking fits with them this season, and they weren't even very good.
And you would have to think the Eagles are going to get their shit figured out.
Yeah.
I would like to say that the Cowboys are going to get their shit figured out, but who knows over there? But
And there's no guarantee on health.
No.
No. And Detroit, for the most part this season, I mean, they had some guys banged up, but they were able to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, they defensively, secondary, they dealt with some injuries. But for the most part, they were able, compared to a lot of other teams, they were able to kind of sneak through that season without major injuries. So.
Julie also says, no doubt MCDC has to tighten up and not always take the risk. They have to be tactical. Exactly. That's what we were talking about. But one thing that I think is in MCDC's favor is that they are in the NFC.
Oh yeah.
You don't have
that quarterback gauntlet.
Yes. So the likelihood of them making another run, in my opinion, is easier than it would be if they're in the AFC.
And they're not really losing anything. I mean, I think they're losing maybe both guards. There's a possibility that both guards.
CJ maybe.
Yeah.
But
as far as they to me, in my opinion, they have the two best tackles in the NFL. I mean, the two best tackle tandem in the NFL. And then, obviously you have both of your running backs coming back next year.
What
maybe you look at maybe you're looking at a replacement for that that number 2 or 3 receiver. So it's not Reynolds, but you have to imagine, or I think that
Jameson Williams
is going to coming off of the injury.
Yeah.
Give him now he's had the year, kind of at the end of the season. I mean, you saw with that jet sweep that they ran in the game where he just
awesome.
Just that's what it is. You put the ball in his hands. And just let his athleticism take over, and that's what he does best.
And one thing that I think is missing from the whole equation that I kind of touched on it last week was this is becoming a free agent destination.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas 3 years ago, who if anyone went to the Lions, it's like, all right, it was a cash grab or one more day, season in the sun, and then let's call it a career. No one was actively pursuing going to Detroit. Now, what MCDC's built, what that franchise has built, is a culture that they can keep going and just keep reloading. And I mean, if these are Dan Campbell's guys, if he has one more season to find better guys, that whole team's going to get better.
Yeah.
So, and then this team, this front office has proved that they can draft.
That's the thing. I mean, we can sit and talk and try to give credit to whoever and talk about Dan Campbell being the perfect guy for the job, and I still think that he is. But Brad Holmes he's the reason why they are where they're at right now and how they've turned this franchise around. Like that guy, it just, when you look back at all the decisions that he's made to this point, it's like he hasn't made the wrong choice yet. And I think they have a lot of cap space. I want to say they have like the third or fourth most in the NFL this offseason. So, and it is a destination where I think you can get people, players to want to go to. They have to get a pass rusher that can, take some of the heat off of Aiden Hutchinson, because Aiden Hutchinson's a monster.
Yeah.
One of the best pass rushers in the NFL, but he has to get some help on that pass rush to where he's not, he's playing every single snap.
Yes.
And he's relentless, and but you got to get some so that teams can't just key in on him. And I think once you get that, you'll see his numbers get even better, and I think you'll see his numbers get better and not play as many snaps as what he plays now.
Yeah, 100%. And they really, really need to. The secondary needs to be addressed. I mean, yes, having CJ miss almost the whole season is huge. Corey says Brad Holmes is the key, and they have over $60 million in cap space. So yeah, plenty of room to wiggle, if you will. And like I said, this team, after post draft, everyone was like, this team doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Every single one of their draft picks, boom, they hit. Not only hit, but hit hard. It started with trading away Hawkinson, a beloved figure in Detroit. I have a feeling that most Lions fans are like, who?
Yeah. I mean,
Laporte is better.
Laporta's a stud.
Laporte is better.
A stud, and played through a knee injury there, where I think if it was regular season, he probably is not playing in those games.
No.
And you could tell that it. But then it looked like to me, like in last Sunday's game, that he was feeling a lot better. He was moving around better. He still had the big ass knee brace on, which I can't imagine that's something that he wants to be wearing. But he's fucking incredible. I think he's going to be really, really, really good.
And what we saw with the Pro Bowl can be a punt returner if need be. Because
he can catch 5 at a time.
Yeah. Which I know we're kind of detouring here, but that's what we do. If you watch that, he had more mass to kind of. Yeah. All the other guys were skinny. Mm-hmm. He was, and I'm like, what the hell is this dude doing out there? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, yeah, awesome. Loved every minute of that. Kudos to the whole Pro Bowl. Yeah. I mean, it was.
I actually did watch a little bit of that whole thing today.
I did too.
It wasn't too bad to watch. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather watch that than where it had been.
Yeah. It was horrible.
Just a game of grab ass.
I did thoroughly enjoy the skills challenges during the flag football. Mm-hmm. I thought that was genius. Mm-hmm. Because if you're just telling me to watch this flag football game, I'll probably watch it for 5 minutes and I'm done with it. Mm. But knowing that, the scoring, I thought that was cool. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
You get points to winning the skills challenge. You get points for this. They've completely revamped that. Now, is it better than the MLB All-Star Game? No.
Yeah,
but it went from just a turd sandwich. Now it's like, okay.
Yeah.
We're
better than the NBA.
Oh, hands down. And yes, we are watching pickleball now.
Yeah, I noticed that.
To me, I to each their own. I really don't understand how you can be a pro pickleball player, but weirder shit's happened. We got one more comment here, 2Ks, and then we'll move on to Patty Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Julia says, I know it was years ago, but that is what we were used to. Historically, no one wanted to play there. Just excited to see the players want to be a Lion. Absolutely. Mm. Absolutely. And I think the more success this team has, the more, you're going to see it's going to be a more desirable place to play. Mm-hmm. So
I think it opens some eyes to some of the players that are, upcoming free agents and other players in the league when you just see the atmosphere of Detroit in those two playoff games. Yeah. Like, just incredible. And as far as sports go for the city of Detroit in the last 10 years, like it's been a rough go. You can even go back longer than 10 years. So to see this season was extremely special, and just hopefully it's something that they can continue to build on.
I would have to think so.
And then some of these other teams in Detroit, hopefully the Tigers can get going, and hopefully I think the Pistons, they have a while yet until they get to where they need to go. But the Red Wings are on the up and up, and
the Pistons are about 3 number 1 overall draft picks away from being relevant again.
Yeah, but the thing is, every single time they get like the first pick or they get up, that it's one of like the talked about as like one of the worst drafts.
Darko.
Yeah, you even go back a couple years ago and when they did get the first pick and they were able to get Cunningham out of it, which that's who I would have taken also. Yeah. But compared to some of the other overall number 1 picks in the NBA, Cunningham is not what you're not tanking for Cunningham, So
no. But it's Detroit is not going to be Boston, where in the same calendar year it seems like the Red Sox win, the Patriots win, the Bruins win. In Detroit, something had to be sacrificed. Mm-hmm. In sacrificing the Pistons, got Michigan national title. Mm-hmm. And NFC Championship game for the Lions.
Oh, man. You imagine, though, like, Michigan win the national championship and then the Lions playing in the Super Bowl. Like, it would have just been incredible. I look back at, just in the week before last where if Green Bay can pull that off against San Fran, and then you have another playoff game between the Packers and the Lions in Detroit.
Yeah. That'd have been awesome.
Would have just been awesome. Yeah, that was the one time in my life where I was truly a Packer fan. Like, I was just really rooting for the Packers.
Well, after that game, because we ended up at your house after that game, Shortly after that, I messaged our friend, Mr. Dustin Perry, and told him, I'm like, yo, just so you know, I was the only dude rooting for you and your team.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Marcellus has a very large Packer fan base, which rightfully so.
Yeah.
But we have to remember, there's another member of the Marcellus community representing another team. So give that dude some love as well. And I also told him, got to get him on the show after he's a Super Bowl champion.
Oh, that would be sweet.
So Dustin, if you're watching, we can bring you in AJ Hawk style. AJ Hawk style, we can get you on the show. But yeah, super excited about that. But let's kind of dive into this before we get into our Super Bowl preview. Should Tom Brady's GOAT status be in question? Now, before anyone chops my head off and says, no, Mahomes doesn't have 7 Super Bowls, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that. Tom Brady played for like 22 years, all right? This is Mahomes' 7th year? Mm-hmm. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're talking about this. We're projecting. We're not saying as of right now. As of right now, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play. Statistically, championships, you just can't argue it. Mm-hmm. But should his legacy be in question with what Mahomes is doing? Again, like I said, for those of you that watched last week, a couple of these are going to be repeats. But Joe Pompliano tweeted, says, Patrick Mahomes is building an insane resume. 2-time NFL MVP, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 6 straight AFC championships, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, $500 million contract, and now at just 28 years old, he'll play in the Super Bowl for the 4th time in 5 years. Now, 2Ks, we do know that if Mahomes and the crew can do it, they'll be the first repeat since Tom and his boys. So there's that. But, hold on, I gotta sneeze. Nope, it's gone. It's gone. And I wanted to bring this up, too. Right now, it's just teasing me.
Tweaking over there?
Adam Schefter tweeted this, 2Ks, and I didn't even send you these, so I know that was kind of a bad move on my part, but it's a graphic from the 33rd team. It has Patrick Mahomes' first 6 years starting, Tom Brady first 6 years starting. It's going to be insane how close some of these are, but regular season record, Mahomes is 72-22, Brady 70-24. Playoff record, Mahomes is 14-3, Brady 12-2. AFC titles, 4 for Mahomes, 3 for Brady. Super Bowl rings, 2 for Mahomes, 3 for Brady. Keep in mind, 2Ks, that strike that from the record. I was thinking out loud. Touchdown to interceptions. Mahomes has 258-69. Brady had 167-87. And QBR, 103.7 for Mahomes, Brady 88.4. So what you can take away from this is very, very similar until it comes to the passing stats. Mahomes has had to be a better passer, a more prolific passer than Brady was through his first 6 years. Do you think? One would think that I'm not saying that he's going to break every passing record again, but I was kind of shocked to see how close these stats were through their first 6 seasons. So, but yeah, I was like, okay, this is a little bit more serious than what I thought. But even at this, let me bring this back up because I have it on the monitor, but I can't see it from that far. His first 6 years of starting. Now, yes, Tom has 3 Super Bowls in his first 6 years. Tom was not the reason those teams won. Mm-hmm. Those teams were some of the best assembled talent in team-wise. Tom was very prolific at what he did. Mahomes through, especially this run he's going on right now. The defense is the best he's ever had. But you could argue any one of those defenses that Brady had through his first 6 seasons are way better than this defense right now. Mahomes is more willing his team, statistically, even though this year has been one of his down stat years. But in my eyes, Tom really didn't become TB12 until further on in his career. You know what I mean? And maybe it was, and I'm not saying just that season with Randy Moss and that, the undefeated season, that was just the cherry on top, in my opinion. So is it, I think it's fair to say, as where they stand in their careers at this point, 6 years in, I think, yes, judging by those stats, granted, Mahomes has a long way to go. Long way to go. Do we think Kelce's going to accompany him all those years? No. No. To a lot of them, sure. Is Andy Reid going to be able to accompany him through this whole journey? Who knows? Andy Reid's not a spring chicken by any means. So is it fair to say that these two? I mean, I'm not asking if it's a comparison, because obviously it is. But given the trajectory, I think it's a conversation we do have to have.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, I think he's the only quarterback that even deserves to be mentioned in this 100%. Argument. But like you said, I mean, what Brady did from like year 8, 9 on, to where Mahomes isn't even to that point yet in his career. What Mahomes has done to this point, like where he's at right now, I would say his first 7 seasons are better than what Brady's done, even though at that Brady had 3 at that point, right?
Yep.
And so Mahomes has his opportunity to get to 3 next weekend. I would give the nod in the beginning, but I would give the nod in the beginning regardless of what happens to Mahomes, just numbers, everything. But it's to me, with Brady, what makes him the GOAT in my eyes is the longevity.
Yes.
They're doing it over and over and over again. Even the years that they didn't win the Super Bowl, they were still in the AFC Championship. Always in the playoffs. They never really had like a down season. You throw away the 1 year where he has where he tears the ACL. He was always healthy. He was always on the field.
Which they still had 11 wins, but just happened to miss the playoffs for whatever reason.
And some of the things that make Mahomes so great is what he can do with his feet, how he can extend drives with picking up a first down. Kind of reminds me of like Aaron Rodgers early in his career, how he was always able to extend drives with his feet, pick up a first down, reach over for that extra yard. He did it all the fucking time. But Mahomes is very similar to that. Can Mahomes continue to do that and stay healthy? We'll see. To me, the argument is so hard, and it's when you have a player that's playing and a player that's done.
Yeah. Because
Mahomes still has so much more to do, so many more years where we can have this conversation in 10 years. And Mahomes can completely blow this guy out of the water. In all honesty, from what I've seen, do I think it's going to happen? No, but from what I've seen from Mahomes so far, like if Mahomes 10 years from now has 8 Super Bowls, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But if it did happen, would it completely shock me? No, this is the fucking greatest quarterback of this era right now. He's the greatest thing we've seen. Like, teams are going through, like, we're going to see it here in a few weeks when the Bears, what the Bears decide to do with their draft pick. Like, if you're taking Caleb Williams at number 1, like, you're taking Caleb Williams because he is the maybe possible, could be closest thing to Mahomes.
Yep.
He could be a complete fucking bust. I mean, how many number 1 quarterbacks have we seen drafted over the years that have been a complete bust? But teams are using that first pick. That pick is gold. Mm-hmm. You can use that in so many other positions. Look at this. You can pick up a franchise wide receiver this year in Marvin Harrison Jr., and you might have, even as a rookie, he might be a top 5 receiver in the league. Mm-hmm. And you can draft that. But you're going to take a quarterback probably with that pick because you might get a version of what we're seeing right now with Patrick Mahomes. Like, quarterbacks are gold in this league, and when you have one, you can win a lot of football games with it. And So it's a hard argument, but I guess where I would say like Tom Brady is still the GOAT to me,
Yes.
and nobody can change my mind on that right now. But Mahomes is the one guy that is you can have this conversation, and I won't completely just lose it and get pissed off.
Right.
Because anybody else's name you throw in there, I'd say fuck off. You're fucking, you're off your rocker. But Mahomes is the only guy that you can have this conversation. But the thing is, still a lot of football to be played in his career.
Yes. And like I said, how much longer is Andy Reid going to be doing this? How much longer is Travis Kelce going to be doing this? So, but it does beg the question. And if you're an avid football fan and you thought we were going into Super Bowl Sunday or Super Bowl week and not have this conversation, I think you're sadly living under a rock, because anytime, I mean, they're already talking about how comparing the Chiefs dynasty to that Patriots dynasty already. And we haven't even been to Super Bowl Sunday yet. Only imagine if Mahomes and the crew pulls out another one, and how much more that conversation's going to be around. Yeah. And yes, we might be jinxing it because we're bringing it up early, and that's going to happen. We're going to have all this, 2, 3, 4 weeks up until the combine of just bombarding, Mahomes, Brady, Patriots, Chiefs, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, the whole 9 yards. So I have a feeling we're not jinxing it because it's bound to happen. Yeah. And I have a feeling it's going to happen, this week leading up to the Super Bowl, even after, unless Patrick has a horrible game.
Yeah, which I just don't. And that's what I don't see that happening. And it's because, the reason why you can look at all the numbers and compare them and say, oh, yeah, everything is so similar. But what's so similar to me between Mahomes and Brady is when the games matter the most and you're in the playoffs, that's when you see the best version of them.
Yes.
There was seasons where things were not all that great for the Patriots, but when they got to the playoffs, you knew exactly what team you were going to see, and you were going to have to go through Brady, and for the most part, not very many teams were able to do it.
No.
And now you're seeing it happen all over again. You watched it with the Chiefs this year. It was like they struggled all season long. There was times where it was like, this team's not even going to be a contender.
Yeah, this team sucks.
I remember Christmas Day watching them in that game against the Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
Pitiful. At that point, you were saying, this team, are they even a playoff team?
Yeah.
But the thing is, all you have to do is punch that ticket to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, that whole locker room is going to come together, because if you got Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, like, we can beat anybody. We can beat anybody in this league. We can win any game because we have the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now, and he's going to give us a chance to win everything. And that's, to me, what makes him and why I think he can be in the conversation as the GOAT to this point, and he's the only one, is because he's the one that when the game is the biggest, he normally always wins that game. To me, one of the best quarterbacks that talent quarterbacks that I've watched, Aaron Rodgers. Big games though. I mean, he lost a lot of those big games. He lost to San Fran a couple years ago in that playoff game in Green Bay, where MVP season, team, they're number one team in the NFL, and they get beaten in that game. And Rodgers was a big reason, in my opinion, why they didn't win that. You can blame it on special teams. But
sure.
Aaron Rodgers didn't make the plays. To me, the Chiefs, they can go out and they can have some blunders on special teams, but Mahomes is going to find a way, and whether it's with his arm, whether it's with his feet, he's going to find a way to put
his
them
left arm
in a situation in the end where he can make a play and potentially win that game. And he's incredible. And their defense, this is the best defense that they've had in probably his entire time in Kansas City. Honestly, probably the reason, why they have had the success that they've had this year, because in the regular season, things were not going well with the offense, and you were starting to see, like, man, they probably need another guy or two as far as receiver help. The offensive line really struggled. Travis Kelce was dropping a lot of passes.
The whole team was.
The whole team just looked off.
MVS was terrible.
They get to the playoffs now, and it's like we're rolling into this next week, and honestly, We're a week away from the Super Bowl, and if you were to ask me to make my pick right now, I don't know where I'm going with it right now because
Well, hold that thought because we're going to end the show with our
yeah,
picks.
well, shit, I still might not even have a thought then. So it's just this game is very intriguing to me because it's just I don't really know where I want to go with it, because I think I know who, in my opinion, who is the better team, but the team that I don't think is the better team has a quarterback on their team that I don't want to bet against. So
No. And that's another thing too that I'm super stoked for Brock Purdy. I think that for all the naysayers and people that just want to hate on him, I don't understand it. And yeah, so he's not the best player on the team. So what? To me it doesn't matter. And
right.
especially in a sport where take the Rams, the greatest show on turf. You get a quarterback that was bagging groceries weeks before that, wins the MVP, two-time Super Bowl champion, at least one, and next thing you know, they're making docs about him. He's one of the greatest comeback stories in sports, and now we get a guy who's drafted last, Mr. Irrelevant, and everyone's just like, oh, the only reason he's good is because the coach is good, and he's got so many weapons around him, and blah, blah, blah. Well, if that's the case, why isn't Trey Lance? Why did Jimmy G suck for this team? Your favorite quarterback in the world, 2Ks, Jimmy G, who...
That's always what I go back to in this argument, too, is like, he couldn't do it.
No.
He couldn't do it.
He was the reason they couldn't get over the hump.
You fall behind against Detroit by 17 in the first half, and you have Jimmy G as your quarterback, and that they don't come back and win that game.
No,
they don't come back and win that. There was no fucking way.
No. And even if they tried, they'd get close, and Jimmy G would throw a pick.
Yeah. And to me, go back to last week and look at the plays. Look at the 2 or 3 plays that Purdy made with his feet.
Yeah.
Jimmy G ain't running for anything like that.
No.
So I don't even think it's... Garoppolo lost his fucking job this year to the rookie from Purdue, O'Connell or whatever his name is. Or,
AOC.
Yeah, and so that tells you right there that the caliber of quarterback that Garoppolo is.
Yeah, and it also goes to show you how much of a train wreck that Raiders team is. And yeah, just stop with the Brock Purdy hate. I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
What I don't understand about it is like how are we as a society where we're hating the underdog? That's where we're at now in life. Where
my point exactly.
My
point exactly.
This kid, last pick of the draft, he was not even supposed to make a roster.
No.
Practice squad quarterback was what he was supposed to be.
If that.
And like, yeah, he is probably the 8th, 9th, 10th best player on that team. So be it.
So who cares?
The reason that they're able to have all those good players is because they had to pay them, and when you're paying your quarterback at minimum wage,
exactly,
you're able to go and add Christian McCaffreys, and you're able to pay, all that, the wide receivers and the offensive line and the defense, and make the trade for Chase Young. Mid-season, you're able to do all that kind of stuff because you can structure your roster because you're not paying what majority of the teams in the NFL are paying for their quarterback.
Yeah, you're paying about $49 million less for your quarterback.
Yeah,
a la Russell Wilson there for the longest time. So no, this is something that we should all get behind and be like, hey, this is an awesome story, and why everyone is just he sucks. No, I don't get it.
I talked about it earlier. Like, look at how many first-round quarterbacks have been drafted in the last 10 years, and how many of them were never able to do anything.
No.
But we're going to hate on this kid that was drafted last overall and has his team in the Super Bowl, had his team in the playoffs last year, and if it wasn't for injury, would have probably beat the Eagles and been in the Super Bowl then, and now comes back this year, plays at a, if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson and maybe you can make the argument for his teammate and Christian McCaffrey with what they've done. I mean, let's just be real. The MVP award is a quarterback award. I mean, that's just how it goes. Do I think Christian McCaffrey deserves it right now? I would jump on that argument all day long. But Lamar Jackson's going to win it.
Yeah, hands down.
Hands down. And it's hard to argue that too because he has a really, really good case also. But for a long time during this season, Purdy was in that conversation.
100%.
He played himself into that conversation, and we're hating on this guy.
Yeah.
But we're sitting back, and all season long I hear it, and no knock on him, but like all season long we're hating on C.J. Stroud, or not hating on him, but we're loving on him. Look how good this guy is. Look how great he is.
Number 2
He
overall
was
pick?
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about Bryce Young. I thought he looked like shit.
He did.
Brock Purdy could win more games in Carolina than Bryce Young won this year in Carolina.
100%.
I would say. He reads the defense better. He throws to receivers on time. He does I think why are we not hating? There's no hate on Bryce Young. The answer is, he's playing for the worst team in the NFL, so the case is still out. And Purdy's playing for the best team in the NFL, so we're gonna just hate on him. No, fucking bullshit. And that's what makes me so mad with this argument is like,
I'd take Purdy on the Bears, hands down.
yeah,
Hands down.
like I would almost go as far to say, I don't know. I would.
Purdy's better than Dak. Stop it.
That's what I'm thinking.
He is.
That's what I'm thinking.
He is. And especially
and that's very, very
contract wise.
As far as weapons that San Fran has and
Oh,
weapons
yeah.
that Cowboys, very, very comparable.
Yeah.
You might even be able to say that Dallas's weapons are better.
Receivers.
Not having the run,
yes.
not having Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
But receiver wise, I would take Debo or CD over Debo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Offensive line very similar.
yeah.
Defense very similar.
Tight end wise, Kittle because of the all around game.
Yeah.
But Ferguson, I think, is better receiver than Kittle is.
Yeah. But very similar situation. And you wouldn't get the quote unquote Dak blunders and all that other bullshit aside. Mm-hmm. And then if you add on top of that the contract situation, like you brought up, holy shit, could you imagine what Jerry Jones could do with an extra $49 million a year? I mean, that'd be insane. Yeah. That would be insane. Yeah. But yeah, for all of you that are hating on Brock Purdy, stop it. Yeah, stop it.
And Purdy might be the 9th or 10th best player on his team, but I still think that he's top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
say what you want.
There would be a lot more AFC teams that I think they'd be like, we're going to stay with our guy.
Sure. Yeah.
But the bottom half of that conference, yeah, all day. Mm-hmm. 3/4 of the NFC, yes.
I just don't understand where we're at, where we hate on the underdog. Like this to me is like,
I don't. Like I said, I don't get it either, and I wanted to bring it up because it irritates me. Mm-hmm. I gave the Kurt Warner example. It's pretty much almost the same thing. Yeah. Except that Purdy wasn't out of the league bagging groceries. He basically was.
And then San Fran wins next weekend, and regardless of how they win, what's going to be the story on them? People are going to continue to hate on him. Continue to hate on him.
I'm sure.
It's just like, what if they're going to be good next year too. So what if he comes back and puts them right back in the same situation again?
What if he leads a game-winning drive, throws a pass similar to Joe Montana? I mean, hits Ayuk in the back of the end zone for a one-handed catch. The next thing you know, Super Bowl champions. But 2Ks. Trent Williams is the best left tackle in the league.
Yeah.
You got to remember that.
Yeah.
And Christian McCaffrey was doubled over here. Mm-hmm. Because he is that guy. Just fucking stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
I agree.
Well, 2Ks, let's get into our... we got to give our picks. Last I saw, 2.5 points was the line. 2.5 points, 2Ks. I'm going to go right out here. Give me Chiefs in the points. Give me Chiefs in the points. Could this be a 1-point victory? Yes. I might even buy it down to 3, maybe, depending on what the price is. Just in that case, if it is a 3-point game, it'd push. I wouldn't lose everything, but I made the mistake last week and left the points out there and took Baltimore. I'm not falling for that again. Give me Mahomes in the points. because ultimately, I think there's somehow, some way, Mahomes gets this done, and the Chiefs bring home a victory. Either that or something crazy happens, and that Kansas City defense makes a huge play to turn the tides in that game, and the Chiefs happen to come out on top. But I don't see this as a very high-scoring game. I think if both teams get like 24-21 style, I think that's right in my wheelhouse. I did not see what the over-under is. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. 24-21 style. Chiefs win.
Yeah, like I said, this is a hard one, and I could make my prediction right now, and if I change it before the game, it could happen. I'm leaning towards San Francisco right now. The key to me is you look ahead to the last couple of games for San Fran. They fall behind against Green Bay. They come back and win that game. They fall behind big against Detroit. They come back and win that game. You cannot fall behind against Patrick Mahomes because they won't blow it. If Mahomes, you give Mahomes a 2-possession lead going into halftime, you will not be able to dig yourself out of that. So, and I think San Fran knows that, and I think that they're gonna come out and they're gonna have a lot of energy. And this Kansas City offense is not as good as what they've been, but their defense is really, really, really good. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be a very, very, big-time defensive battle. Honestly, it might be a turnover or two that plays a factor in it, and I can see maybe Mahomes trying to do too much. We've seen that a little bit out of him, but to me, the difference maker in it, I think the best player on the field, with exception of what Mahomes can do, the next best player on that field is Christian McCaffrey. I think San Fran rides Christian McCaffrey. I think he touches the ball 30 times in this game. Touchdowns are going to be hard to come by.
And they're going to run the ball
a lot because you want to take possessions away from Mahomes being able to do do his thing. And that Chiefs defense is really, really good, and I don't think it's going to be an easy day for Purdy to drop back and throw the ball all over the place. So I think it's going to be a lot of McCaffrey. It might be a lot of McCaffrey not only running the ball but also catching the ball.
Debo running the ball too.
And Debo being a part of it. I think he'll be healthier than what he was last week, even though he had a good game last week too. Kittle getting involved in it. They got so many weapons to where
Kittle not getting touches last week killed me.
Like I hate going away from Mahomes, and probably a lot of this, this prediction of mine is going with my heart because I want San Fran to win this game so bad. I want somebody different. No disrespect to Mahomes. There's a lot. I have nothing but respect for him, but respect for Kelce, but I want to see somebody different. I just don't want to see him win another one, and but I think San Fran leans really, really heavy on McCaffrey, and he's the best player on their team. And from what I've seen this season alone, he was the best player in the NFL this season.
Hands down. All right, well, 2K Crew, we're going to get you into our top 5 of the week. This week we are doing, and I when I sent you this, I was like, all right, these are the your top 5 favorite apps on your phone. Not the ones used most frequently, but your top 5 favorite apps. Okay, and I'll go first. Number 5, FanDuel. Obviously. It's whether it's football season, baseball season, even right now, because I'll throw an occasional basketball pick on. But we're getting closer to March Madness 2Ks. Thank God. So yeah, FanDuel gotta be in the top 5. Gotta be in the top 5. Number 4, gotta roll with Facebook still. Make a lot of money on Facebook with my real job. So yeah, Facebook's got to be up there. Number 3. Number 3, I got to go Twitter or X. when I was thinking about this earlier, 2K, I was like, man, I got to put the ESPN app in there somewhere. But ever since I got more versed in Twitter, I hardly ever get on ESPN now.
Sure.
The only time I get on ESPN is maybe check a score, kind of see where a game is in progress. But yeah, not really that heavy with the ESPN app anymore. And like we've said, anytime that there's I've got my alerts set up to all the important news people as far as sports are concerned. So I'm not even really hedging on the ESPN alerts anymore. So give me Twitter at 3. Number 2, got to roll TikTok. Love perusing some TikToks, only to be beaten out by number 1, YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, I spend more time on YouTube than probably any of the other apps combined. So, yeah, give me YouTube at number 1, and I have a hard time. Like if we polled my kids, it'd probably be a whole lot different. Facebook would probably not even be on there. But yeah, I'm not really I'm not a huge Instagram guy. Even though I personally have one, the show has one. I do a horrible time at updating both of them just because I prefer Twitter more. Especially when it comes to the show, I prefer TikTok, Twitter, and obviously YouTube. I try to get everything to drive everything to our YouTube channel. Even though our 2K group on Facebook is awesome. I love the community there. But yeah, those are my top 5 2Ks. Lead me off with your number 5.
Number 5, I'll go ESPN, just because I don't really go on there to read anything. I just go on there to see scores. But that's like a everyday thing for me. I always want to see scores everywhere. So that one makes my list at 5. Number 4, I probably would go Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I do like that one. Not that I ever post anything or anything like that, but I like having it just to be able to read, read what's going on, whether it's baseball, football, whatever season it is. That's where I can always, that's where I can always kind of get up to date on trades or whatever it's happening throughout the game. So I like that part of it. So that's number 4. Number 3, I will go FanDuel. I spend a lot of time on FanDuel, probably a little bit too much time on FanDuel. I've been struggling a little bit on FanDuel, so if you would have asked me this question a couple months ago when I was winning a lot, FanDuel might have been up towards number 1, but it's fallen down to number 3 because I've been struggling here as of late. But number 2, YouTube. I spend more time on YouTube than I do on any of these apps. But number 1, I actually have my Photos app, and I say that because I have pictures in this phone of my kids growing up all the way through, and it's like
son of a bitch.
it's like so some of the pictures and the videos I have of them is like fucking gold.
Sure.
So like. What I have saved onto the cloud here, a lot of embarrassing pictures for when they graduate that I can pull out of here. So
you sappy son of a bitch. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, 2K crew, we'll get you out of here on that. Everyone have a great week. Enjoy your Super Bowl or lead up to the Super Bowl week. We will not be live next Sunday because we will be enjoying the Super Bowl as well as you. And however, I kind of teased it 2Ks. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a bar around here?
Yeah.
That maybe we could do a watch along remotely. At an establishment, and have the 2K crew there. Have some fun. Maybe have a drink or two. Maybe some cheese sticks.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Maybe someday. But 2K crew will get you out of here on that. Everyone have a fantastic week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.